Hello, US 101 students. I just want to welcome you again to the first week. I have an intro video. I think 3 or 4 students have watched it. It looks like, or it's very low. This video you're required to watch. So hopefully all of you are going to be watching this immediately. I apologize. I had a better camera that is not working, or maybe my laptop is not working with it because at some point I need to transition over to a different laptop. But as long as you can hear me and get this information clear, I guess that's good enough for now. I just wanted to give you a little logistics of this class. I don't focus on multiple choice exams or quizzes. Actually, we don't do any of that. My class is about the way that I'm going to be approaching this class is I want you to know, why was there a U.S. Civil War? Why did we have a war for independence? What do we make of all of our contradictions and the different aspects of the legacy of the United States? Basically, to able to think about the United States in terms of information and data about how we are, who we are, how we were able to get to this place where we're at. And so that's basically it. So in other words, this information that comes out at you, you don't have to focus on memorization. I want you to focus on comprehension. I want you to focus on engaging with the material. So, for example, you have a link. I put the links to the textbooks in the syllabus, but they're also going to be showing up in the readings link in the modules for each week. By the way, again, I need to emphasize, we do not use the calendar. Look at the modules that are open up for each week. Look at my announcements, okay? So you're not going to see assignments popping up in your calendar, so don't wait on that. And video notes, you want to start watching the videos and getting the notes down sooner than later. A lot of students try to wait last minute, and then it becomes overwhelming. So something else to keep in mind. So in regards to the discussions, this is the book that we mainly use, Howard Zinn's A People's History of the United States. There's different covers for this book. Your school may have them available also in the library. This book has been used by many, many professors and instructors in public school systems. Some of you prefer to have a hard copy of the book. So, A People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn. This is the book, but I do have the free link, that you can put onto your laptop. So, keep that in mind. The OpenStax textbook is mainly for those of you who are visual learners, or that you do want to get a kind of broader scope of each section of history. So when I do my lectures and I have the videos and I will put on other videos and documentaries, I'm emphasizing on certain aspects of U.S. history, but I don't cover it all. And so the OpenStax online textbook that I have is basically standard textbook information for this section of history, covering things like, you have like the Stamp Act, or certain kind of standard known things in U.S. history, are things that you're expected to know on an AP exam, but that's not the approach I'm necessarily taking. I think it's important to understand, every aspect of history, such as how, charges on certain products can get people more upset and blah, blah, blah. But again, I don't emphasize those things in this class the way that maybe another instructor would, or the textbook. So the OpenStax textbook can be helpful to you, but usually it's not going to be a requirement. And especially if you feel like you're following along in the lectures well and reading the Howard Zinn book. But the Zinn book is also not necessarily chronologically kind of like set in this is meant to be something that you debate or discuss a topic over, okay? So in our discussions, you're going to refer to Howard Zinn. keep in mind, you don't have to like him. You don't have to agree with him, with me, or any other content in this class. He has his own bias, and I'll out him right now. This would be considered a left-wing professor. If you look online, there's a whole lot of discussions about that. Now, I will say this. The reason why this book has been so popular, despite the fact there's even a lot of outdated language in this book, by the way, it's set up so well for discussions to get us thinking about things that really haven't been debated. Like, his history doesn't get criticized. Like, oh, this is bad history. What some people feel like is, oh, he makes America look bad. But if you actually look, he's really just critiquing maybe some people who are considered heroes by some people in America, and not making them look good because he's showing them not look good in historical records, versus, like, let's say, celebrating Americans who are fighting for cheaper rent. In other words, he's not he's celebrating U.S. history. He's just focusing on it in a different way. And I have many students. I've taught evening classes, and I had some conservative students that, while they knew they didn't like, they weren't of his politics, they would agree with me and say, Mr. Pollack, this is a very engaging book. And so, again, though, you can disagree. But what I'd like you to do is this. If you disagree, let's talk about, is history credible? Or what do you think about the way that the history is being articulated? So you won't get graded in this class based on having your politics align with mine, whatever those would be, right? Basically, do the work in the right way, and you get full points. Now, in the discussions, I don't usually have a problem with this. But in the past, I've had a student that was saying things that I agree with. In other words, her ideas aligned with mine, but she was being very aggressive and kind of insulting to the other students. And I had to intervene, and I said, you can't talk to students like this. And she got embarrassed, and then she apologized. I don't want you all to deal with that. Look, the Constitution gives you the right to free speech, but this is a classroom where we are respectful to each other. So we don't use language or talk in a way to each other that is inflammatory, okay? It can be substantive, though. And here's the other side. I don't want you to be overly sensitive. The idea of college is that you get challenged in your ideas. So if you make a statement and another student wants to say, well, I see you're saying that, but I think this evidence over here is stronger, and they give you evidence, that's a fair way of having a debate, okay? So the discussion should be not rude, but we shouldn't be overly sensitive. We have to accept the fact that people will challenge our ideas, okay? And I'll intervene in this if I see something go wrong. Please contact me if you're upset about something that somebody wrote. But fortunately, for the years that I've been teaching, and I've had a wide range of political opinions in my classes, this is generally not what happens. So kudos to all of you for seeming to get along better in my classrooms than Americans seem to be when you watch the news, right? So, all right. So, having said that, I think you're going to enjoy actually engaging with this material here. And so, the video notes, pretty straightforward. I want to see, what I'm looking for in all of my assignments is that it looks like you're in my class. In other words, when I look at the video notes, I know what videos I'm showing. So I look at the video notes and I say, okay, this student is writing down a few points from each of these videos, and lo and behold, this is what I know was talking about. This is what that video or that documentary clip was about. And then I look at your essays, same thing. In the discussion, same thing. Now, AI, This last semester, I had the worst time with students trying to get away with AI. And I just want you to know that it's obvious when AI is being used in an inappropriate way. And I will not always ding you for it because it's not always provable. But here's where it is provable. If you look at one of my videos and you simply want to say, okay, ask AI to give like a general idea of this topic and, you know, help you just kind of AI yourself down the list of my video notes, that is going to be obvious. I had students do this. And look, I'm looking for notes that show that you were in my class while looking at the video. If these AI notes are accurate information but not what I was articulating in the video, I'm going to call you to task on it. You're going to have to communicate with me, and I'm going to grill you on making sure that it sounds like you actually watched the video instead of just did the AI. So just don't do that. And here's the other thing. I've had some students try to use it on the essays, and they put in citations, but they put in citations that weren't actually the right page number, or sometimes even the right topic. And again, I can tell that this essay was not covering stuff that was in our class, and I will crack down very hard on this. Now, I don't mind if you use AI to help you write a sentence better, or there's ethical ways to use the tool. It can help you edit, maybe gather your thoughts, that kind of thing. But ultimately, when I look at the content, it should be clear that it's you in my classroom, and you're the ones that are getting this information absorbed. Does that make sense? So let me then go to the expectations of the essays. So I make a lot of notes trying to explain this clearly, but ultimately, these are not research papers. I'm trying to get you to just focus on a few topics in each class, and you're utilizing the sources only that we've used in class, that are in the modules for the week. The citations come after a paraphrase or direct quote, and they must come after a paraphrase and a direct quote. You do not need to have a bibliography at the end. So there's no works cited paper or page necessary. What I mentioned, and you'll see it in the announcement and in some of the instructions, if you were to be a history major at a major university, you would have to use Chicago style for citations. And so there would be a very specific way to do it. I'm not having you use MLA. I'm not having you use some of the other forms. All I'm requiring, and you can look at my examples, is the citation should let me know where the source is from, and I should be able to go to it directly and see the source. So if it's just one of the articles that I linked for the reading, you just have to say what article it is, and I should be able to look into the link and see the article, and I can go through. If it's this book or OpenStax, there's page numbers, and I should see the page number. I should be able to say, and you can just say Zin, page 22. And I'm going to look at 22, and I'm going to see the content. But some students, sometimes they try to just, they AI the paper, they put in a citation, and they think I'm not going to look up the page, or they just put Zin. They just put video, they just do that, and they don't clarify where it came from. Now, for the videos, like my lectures, you can use my reference, you can say video 1. But again, it should be something where I can look up and I would know, I know what I said in my video. So so again, you're going to cite after a paraphrase or a citation, and the way that you cite should simply be enough information for me to go directly to where you're saying it came from, and I can find it with ease. Okay? That's the way. So when I get a Sunday essay, the first thing I do is I look for citations. And I make sure the citations are written within the text after a paraphrase or a direct quote, and that these are all sources that we use in class. So then I go, okay. Then I look to make sure that there's dates for time periods. That's also important. Okay, history essay without dates is not a history essay. So I look, is there dates? Boom. After that, then I actually read your essay. And as long as it's, you work with the content that I asked you to, I give you full points. So I'm not a hard grader on these, but I have a very totalitarian line on these expectations of citations, only the sources that we've used, and dates for the time periods. Okay, so that's ultimately that's it. If there's any questions about that or worries, please contact me. I'm very approachable. I'm here to have you all succeed. I want you all to learn. I want you to have a great experience in the class. And part of what you can get out of college is your ability to also engage with your professor. I have students all the time that will finally ask me a question that they wanted to the whole time, or they've had some issue, and then they're so glad that they did. And by the way, sometimes I mess up. Sometimes my links aren't working, or I put the wrong link. Sometimes I forget to open up a class. Don't second guess yourself. Sometimes, when you have a question for me, it helps me and then the rest of your students, because maybe I have to fix something that I didn't realize was, with the Canvas, or just how I was explaining it to the class. Okay, so that's I think all I'm going to say right now. Then, so look, enjoy your week, and like I said, let's be in contact if there's anything that you need to get better understanding of. Welcome to the class.